Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome back to the Radiant Reset. I'm Beryl, and if this is your first time here, this is where midlife women and a few men come to reinvent themselves, build unshakable confidence, and create the life of their dreams. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I've been sharing and talking quite a bit about healing from the mother wound, from the past, and dealing with narcissists lately. And while that's incredibly important work, I thought it was time for something a bit more, forward looking. Because here's the thing, we can't change what actually happened to us, but we can absolutely change what we do with those experiences. Today, I'm sharing 4 life lessons that I learned the absolute hard way. Hopefully, you won't have to. And trust me when I say hard way, I mean it. And the lessons just still keep on coming, from my Amazon termination fiasco a few weeks ago that we're still sorting out, to finally confronting my mother about not loving me as a child, which happened 2 years ago, to building this entire reinvention business at 56. I've made every mistake in the book, but here's what I've discovered. Your mistakes aren't your enemy. They're your greatest teachers, if you're brave enough to actually listen. Let's get into it. Lesson 1, stop fighting against your own happiness. The first lesson that absolutely transformed my life. Stop fighting against your own happiness and become less defensive. You're blocking your ability to allow joy in. I spent decades walking around like I was preparing for battle. Every interaction felt like a potential conflict. Every setback felt like a personal attack. I had my sword raised, ready to defend myself against everything. And that's what I was used to from protecting myself as a child and then a young adult, as I knew there was no one coming to actually rescue me. The problem? Well, when you're constantly in fight mode, you can't receive anything good. Joy just bounces right off that armor. Love can't penetrate those defenses. And opportunities pass you by because you're too busy watching for threats. And I learned this the hard way as an entrepreneur and freelancer. I was so busy protecting myself, being bold and proving myself worthy of every client's trust, defending every business decision, that I actually missed genuine connections with potential collaborators. I missed chances for partnerships. I employed the wrong people, blinded by my own blinkers. I kept myself so guarded that I couldn't fully open to the beautiful, creative collaborations that were right there waiting. The turning point came when I realized that most people aren't actually trying to hurt you. Some are just looking out for themselves and find it convenient to ride along on your coattails for as long as they can. But most situations aren't actually personal attacks. Most of the time, other people are just as confused as you are and are just trying to keep all the balls in the air. I remember doing the Sedona method years ago, and there's a simple exercise where you hold a pencil in your hand. Well, you clutch it, grip it tightly, and then just let it go. It drops. That's it. Such a simple physical demonstration of what we can do emotionally. We think we have to analyze and process and understand everything before we can release it. But sometimes we just need to open our hand and let it fall. And here's something practical that you can do to shift this. Start your day by consciously dropping the sword, dropping the pencil. Take 3 breaths and deep breaths and remind yourself, today I choose curiosity over defensiveness. Today I choose connection over protection. Lesson 2, Peace requires boundaries that reflect your priorities. If you want peace, you need boundaries that reflect your values and your priorities. This one took me years to understand. I thought boundaries were about keeping people out, but actually they're about letting the right things and the right people in. I used to say yes to everything and everyone, and then wonder why I felt so scattered and overwhelmed. I take on projects that drained me and maintain relationships with people that absolutely depleted me, and agree to commitments that didn't actually align with what I really wanted to create and do. The Amazon situation taught me this lesson again in the most brutal way possible. I'd spent thousands on Amazon's own training courses, followed every rule to the letter, did everything perfectly, and then one small slip up, having one thing out of order, and my entire account got terminated. And here's what I wish I'd known earlier. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They let in what serves your highest good and keep out what doesn't. Your homework for today is to look at your calendar for next week and how many of those commitments that are actually on your calendar reflect your priorities. How many are you doing out of guilt, obligation, or people pleasing? Start there. How many of them actually excite you? Lesson 3, you're not broken, you're just frustrated. This is a big one. And that's actually a signal that you've outgrown something and need new systems, new boundaries, or support. This might be the most important reframe that I can give you. That restlessness that you're feeling, that sense that something isn't quite right, that frustration with how things are going. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're evolving. I spent my late 40s thinking something was wrong with me because I felt so unsettled with this weird feeling in my gut the entire time. I had a successful career, a lovely family, all the things I was supposed to want, but I felt this constant underlying frustration. I was already constantly working on myself. I've been doing that for decades, advancing my learning, my spiritual life, and personal growth because I want to be the best I can be in every way, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. And it was my way of coping. I thought I just needed to be more grateful for what I had. And while that was true, what I actually needed was to honor the fact that I'd outgrown my old life. My soul was calling for something deeper, something bigger, something more aligned, something that actually reflected who I was becoming. I had this constant neurotic feeling in my gut, as I say, and I always get that when I know something is off in my life and needs attention. That frustration, it's your inner wisdom saying, darling, it's time for an upgrade and a change. The shift, stop asking what's wrong with me and start asking what am I ready for next. Lesson 4, slow down to speed up. Real change takes time. You don't change your life by speeding up. You change it by slowing down, creating space for the clarity that only stillness can deliver. And real change takes a year or over a year. Stop quitting in month 2 and start trusting the process. Oh, this one. This is for all my fellow impatient souls out there. I see you trying to transform your entire life in 3 months. As I say, like I did, I see you getting frustrated when you don't see immediate results. And I see you because I was you and I am you. When I started the Radiant Reset, I expected to have a thriving business within 6 months. When I began my deeper healing journey, I thought I'd sort out my relationship with my mother in a few intense conversations and it would all be sorted, it will all be over. When I decided to write my latest book, I planned to have it finished and best-selling within the year. Reality check, meaningful change is slow. It's messy. It happens in layers, not lightning bolts. The most profound transformations in my life took at least 12 months to really take hold. It's taking time to rebuild my confidence after the Amazon situation. We're still in the thick of sorting that one out. Let's see what happens over there. It took a year to establish healthy boundaries with toxic people. It's taken nearly 2 years to build this business and really trust my voice. But here's the beautiful thing about giving change time. It actually sticks. Quick fixes don't last. But when you commit to the long game, when you trust the process, even when you can't see progress, that's really difficult. But that's when the magic actually happens. The transformation happens in the slowing down, in creating space, in allowing clarity to emerge naturally instead of forcing it, in trusting that sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is to pause, breathe, and let your next steps reveal themselves to you. Your mantra is, I'm not behind, I'm not slow, I'm building something that will last. These 4 lessons have been my guideposts through some of the most challenging and transformative years of my life. Drop the sword, create boundaries that reflect your priorities, trust that frustration means growth and change, and give change the time it needs. Remember, darling, you don't need permission to learn from your mistakes. You don't need permission to start over. You don't need permission to create the life that you actually want. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear which lesson hit home the hardest. Drop me a comment, share this with a friend who needs to hear it, and I'll see you next week for another episode of The Radiant Reset. Until then, keep shining.